kind of the trajectory of where this season could potentially go.
Love for Maui?
Yeah, I'm going to go back and brew it.
Back!
We have no idea who Michigan is, who Notre Dame is.
What would make Evan a Notre Dame fan?
Is Carr going to start next year and be on that list as one of the top guys? That's what I want to know.
Harbaugh was inventing NIL before it was a thing.
Beat him again?
That's the question.
It's going to keep getting easier because there's going to be nobody to play because these conferences keep getting bigger.
Who's the better quarterback, Riley Leonard or Carson Beck?
I also want to be clear on, I think he has a job for a long time, but I don't think he wins a national championship.
The cathedral of college football. We'll see you in the next one.
Always share your brews.
Always share your brews.
Go Steve Goff.
What's up, guys? I'm Evan Sharpley, former Notre Dame quarterback, and I've teamed up with Legacy Performance. It's all about consistency. It isn't that first tub of protein or you taking some creatine or pre-workout is going to cure it all that one time. My biggest motivation to finish my workout every day is to get back in the house, open up that tub of protein, toss in a couple of scoops, some coffee, a little cinnamon, chug it with a couple of raw eggs as well, and get out the door. It's a great way to start your day, or if you need a little pick-me-up in the afternoon too, highly recommend it. It's going to be you getting into that consistent rhythm day in and day out so that you can leave your own legacy too.
This is the Varsity Brews podcast where we talk, of course, about beer. Ian, lucky you. And we also talk about college football and football in general. Of course, breaking down the latest Irish victory this week. And, of course, a special guest, Ian Book. We'll get to Ian here in just a second. Want to thank our sponsors, Legacy Performance.
Pineapple Mango just released.
Stay sharp if you want to use the QR code and get 10% off. So thanks to our guys over at Legacy Performance. And yes, new Pineapple Mango.
Kind of like a Pineapple Mango pre-workout.
Ian, you're missing out here on the best beer in Indiana. We'll have to get you a case.
Yeah.
And also brought to you by Rustic Rocks and finally WestWind Brewery. Last but not least, big weekend for you guys.
Yep.
And of course, big week for you guys. Just releasing that. I think Ian had the turnover chain on.
He did.
This past week. What did you get a chance to try the beer, Ian?
I had some whiskey. Was that part of it or not?
It was. Yeah.
Absolutely part of it. Yeah, it's been barrel aged in Buffalo Trace from
Variant number
10.5 months.
10.5 months.
Next time, Ian, you're gonna have to stay around a little longer. We'll slam some beers. All right. All right.
So we have Ian Book, of course, Notre Dame quarterback, the all-time winningest Notre Dame quarterback in history, and he's going to break down what he's seeing from the Irish these past couple of weeks. They're playing much better football. Vahid Sadrzadeh, Evan Sharpley, of course, another former Notre Dame quarterback.
Top and bottom, baby. 0-2 over here.
And, of course, Aaron West, the biggest Michigan fan this side of the Mississippi. So we're talking about Notre Dame football. Ian, let's just jump right into you. What about this Irish team kind of impresses you as they just get the victory? You played the last time they played at Yankee Stadium. I believe you were the quarterback when they were taking on Syracuse, and another big win for them at Yankee Stadium. So what did you see from them against Army that kind of lets you know, hey, this team is prepared to make a deep run in the playoffs if they get there?
Yeah, I'm impressed. I think the team's peaking just at the right time. It's really fun to watch. I think, obviously right off the bat, the defense is unbelievable. They're playing great. And I just think we're peaking at the right time. I keep telling everybody that. Like, I think in a season, you kind of try to figure out who you are and what your identity is. And then teams do peak at certain times, some at the beginning and some at the end. And I think the timing of this right now is perfect. And I'm impressed with a lot of things, but right off the bat, I think the running backs are pretty special. Just to have that, there's a bunch of them, but a little 1-2 punch right there is it makes it. As a quarterback, everyone would understand, like, when you can run the ball like that, it just opens everything up. It makes everything so much better, so much easier. And I'm excited for this game versus USC. I think just to put another game together. What is this, 7 in a row that they did?
9 in a row.
9 in a row.
9 in a row since the NIU game.
Yeah. So 9 in a row. Yeah. Just feeling good, confident, obviously excited. They don't want to look ahead because USC's got absolutely nothing to lose but to try to ruin our year. And we were in a similar situation when I was playing with that. I don't remember the year, but in order to finish our undefeated season, must have been, was it 19?
2018. Yeah, because
Or 18.
who
Yeah.
was it? Tony. Who was your running back?
Tony
Number
Jones.
6. Tony Jones. Yeah. Tony
Yeah,
Jones.
so like USC had nothing to lose, but they always, I mean, what a great tradition we have with them, and they want to do nothing. They hate us. We hate them. It is what it is, and they would love to do nothing but ruin our season. So I think Freeman's probably relaying that message 100%, but I just think we're peaking at the right time. Running backs are special. Defense creating turnovers and just giving the offense so many opportunities is going to lead us into the playoffs here pretty good.
What's so tough about playing at USC? I mean, like kind of. I know
Nothing.
Lena Ryan.
What's a shit? That place sucks.
All they're doing year in and year out, right? I think in 2018 they were pretty good, and they had some.
You talk about some fair weather fans, man. It's
What's worse, Stanford or USC?
A Stanford game at Stanford is worse. USC, at least it's louder there, and there is more fans than at Stanford. I think USC's roster, I mean, they always get top recruits. They're always talented. This is obviously a year for them that's not going great.
Yeah.
But they're going to be motivated. They're going to come out fast. And if they get any type of energy or any type of feeling that they punch us in the mouth first and we're not reacting well, they're going to, that's how football is. It's a game of momentum, and they'll definitely capitalize on that. So you just got to go out there fast, play our game. Literally nothing needs to change. Keep getting turnovers, keep running the ball. Riley Leonard's doing a great job. I thought he's responded so well since the NIU game, and just keep doing his thing. Don't look ahead. It's a one-game season, just week to week. So just keep doing the same things.
Well, Riley Leonard, you and I have talked about this.
Well, you said I've been overly critical. I mean,
You've been critical.
Yeah, I mean, Ian and I understand that, with being a Notre Dame quarterback, there's going to be criticism. People are going to continue to look at you, and you have an early season loss against NIU at home. That tarnishes what people think. And I think I also stood up for him early on then too, because people were praising him beating Texas A&M, and then they're the first ones then to kind of renege on that and say, who is this guy here? But to Ian's point, and I think that we've reiterated this, is a lot of the concerns and red flags with this offense haven't necessarily 100% gone away, but they've settled into who they are, how they're calling plays, and allowing really the defense to dictate then what they're doing. And I think I said this preseason, I said it week in and week out, is with Leonard's skill set, his ability to run the football effectively. I think now he's closing in. I think he's over 25 touchdowns total, combined with rushing and with throwing. He hasn't beat you long term. We're still at like 20 games in a row now without a 300-yard passing game, but they know who they are offensively, and he just has to be the reason. He can't be the reason why they lose. And so that is running the offense, protecting the football, not turning it over.
But I think you put more pressure on yourself with that mentality. Let me just try to avoid the mistake.
Okay, well, how I would say that is, that's not how you play quarterback.
Yeah,
you're not going out there trying to not do it. You're running the offense within the system. What I'm saying is, from the outside looking in, if you just look, purely from stats, the games where some of the games have been closer, it's when there has been an offensive turnover and it's put the defense into a difficult situation. I think going into both Army and Navy, ranked teams hadn't played tough schedules, but you look at what their offenses were doing. I mean, I think Navy fumbled the ball 6 times. So if the defense gives the offense that many opportunities, they're going to cash in at some point. It's right. Getting points. I think we said, if this offense gets to 17 or 20, you should win almost every game because of how this defense is dictating the tempo on the opposite side. I think I watched the first 2 drives of the Army game and texted you guys. I was like, I'm putting the movie on for my kids now. I know exactly the script on how this is going to go because I could tell who was controlling the line of scrimmage. But I have to give some kudos offensively to the offensive line, I think, growing and hitting their stride. That was a big concern for me early on. There were some growing pains. And I'll reiterate what Ian said too, is you want to peak at the end of the year. Certainly you don't want that NIU loss. You don't want something like that. But they have consistently, not leaps and bounds, but there's been incremental progress from week to week where I think they feel comfortable with their identity, who they are. And then what's great about that is when you go and play a team, you're not necessarily game planning specific for that team. You're running your offense or you're running your defense. And then the opposing team they're trying to dictate what they want to do to you versus, having to adjust as much on the fly.
So Ian, how would you scout Riley? Like, what if you were an opposing team, an opposing defense? Obviously, he's gotten more comfortable with his receivers as time's gone on. I mean, he didn't play in the offseason. He didn't play spring ball. So, I mean, I think you had a little bit of that chemistry delayed, but he's trusted his receivers. He's, I think, opened it up a little more the last 9 games. So if you were like a defense scouting Riley, like, how would you go about stopping? Obviously, this Notre Dame offensive line, let's give kudos to Joe Rudolph, because like that offensive line with the injuries they've had has been something special.
I was going to say earlier, like, that's something that's also extremely impressive. Like, the injury list for this year is crazy. Like, I remember when I saw it week 3, I was like, we have 13 guys out or something for the season. That's something that it's really impressive. Those guys, especially on the O-line, stepping up and doing a good job and peaking at the right time with the injuries that we have on both sides of the ball. It's pretty impressive because I've never been on a team with an injury list like that. It's unlucky. It is whatever you want it to be, but sorry, I just felt like I had to mention that. I was like, I remember when the list first came out on Twitter and this show, I was like, oh my gosh. But for Riley Leonard, like you load the box, play man-to-man, I'd make our receivers win the one-on-one matchup. Yep. I honestly think Riley probably – I think if you load the box and you make him play man-to-man, and we need a receiver to win. That's what you need, a go-to receiver to win man-to-man matchups. But I also think – I'm not sure Riley would hate that. I think he really enjoys to throw – or he would love to throw some back shoulder fades. That's what I loved. If you're going to stack the box – and play man-to-man, the best thing for me was I knew Chase Claypool was winning a 50-50. It's not a 50-50 ball. It was a 70-30 ball with Chase Claypool. So who is that guy this year for Notre Dame? So I loved it when you'd play man, stack the box, and I could hit a back shoulder conversion fade. So maybe try that. But I think somebody's got to step up in the big moment when they start doing that. It's pretty obvious when the team starts to do that to you.
Yeah, I mean, you got to have a big-time receiver, I mean, and early in the season, we saw, a couple guys step up. But right now, you're seeing Faison, Jordan Harrison, some other guys, not huge guys on the outside by any means, but guys that can burn some defensive players. And it'll be really interesting to see when we do play a top team, if that happens in the playoffs. How are they going to adjust to what they've seen on tape for Notre Dame? Because, yes, you can beat the Army in the trenches. You can beat Navy.
Who is the top-ranked defense that Notre Dame has played this year?
I'm going to guess NIU.
NIU.
Yeah.
Still is. I mean,
which is crazy.
They're still a top 10 defense,
Wow. I did not know that.
Said it week in and week out, I mean, and especially, too, how these running backs have continued to progress, too. I mean, it's load the box, muddy the waters there, and force Riley Leonard and the receivers to beat you one-on-one. But as a quarterback, and true to Ian's point, you relish that moment. It's a personal challenge, but if your guy wins, you got some big yards and some chunks that maybe you haven't seen this year too. But defenses are probably just betting on we're going to get to the quarterback quicker than you can get the ball out. And I don't think there's really been a team that's mixed and matched pressures very well all year on Notre Dame's offense. But also too, I mean, the style of offense that they've settled into has been a grinded out type of, methodical. We know it's not going to be maybe an 80-yard explosive, every couple drives. We're going to wear you out over the course of 4 quarters. And by that third and fourth quarter, we're going to hit on a 20-yard touchdown run where we hurdle over somebody. That's cool.
Yeah. Well, the top 10. Go ahead, Ian.
I think the stat is like, if you win the turnover margin and win the big play or the explosive play, which I think is 20 or 25 yards, it's like 90 something percent you win the game. And if you that's just been Notre Dame the last 9 games, right? Those 20-yard, I mean, they've been runs, they've been a few passes, but that is such a key thing to win games. You just win the turnover battle and win the explosive play battle. Now, it hasn't been through the air, but 20, 25-yard run, 40-yard run, 80-yard run, like those, that's how you win it. So I just think they got to keep doing that same thing.
Well, it's interesting. Notre Dame offense has turned into big play.
Well,
Big play offense, right? I mean,
know
like 80-yard play. It's not the grinded out drives that, over the last number of years, right? It's been longer drives, use the run game, maybe a home run from Dexter once in a while.
We used to grind it out. We used to grind it out. We would run 3 tight ends and grind it out and give it to Kyron Williams. And I just think coordinators, when they understand their team the right way, they call plays to their strengths. I think Denbrock's doing a good job with that, especially here on this run that we're going. But I just completely remember, how different my 2 years were. My last year we had 3 tight ends that were unbelievable, and we would get under center, run pro, and then Michael Mayer would win every single one-on-one matchup that he would get. So we knew how to attack defenses. If there was a shutdown corner, Mike wasn't going to lose to a single linebacker or a single safety. And Coach Reese was calling plays for that. So Denbrock just keeps, I think he's just doing a good job of playing to our strengths. It takes time to understand what guys are going to be like. So like, I knew what Coach Reese was going to call after spending 3 years, and it was the best feeling ever. When you bring in with NIL and you bring in a new quarterback every year, it is the way the game is. I totally understand that now, but it's hard to kind of get the feel for somebody in just one summer.
Yeah.
So I think they're starting to figure that out now, but it just feels like it's late.
It probably takes a quarter of a season if it's a new guy. I mean, I hate to say it, your experience, Ian, at Notre Dame, I don't know if we're going to see too many like that at most programs now, unless you're coming in and maybe starting the program as a freshman, but that 3-year starter, I don't know if we see it anymore.
I literally was telling my 11-year-old son last night,
which means he's going to be the all-time winningest quarterback forever. You're going to be January 1 on the calendar, Brooks.
Which has got to be a pretty good feeling, because you guys had a hell of a run at your time.
I'm cool with
it. At ND, winning more than 30 games, if I got that correct, right? Is it 30-3? 30-3.
I think overall I was 30-5.
30-5
overall. Yeah.
If I do remember, what was the first game? Did you play in 2017 or was it just 2018? The first game you made an appearance was the Citrus Bowl against LSU in the game-winning drive, and I think you did find Boykin in with the back shoulder throw.
Yeah,
and that was when the game.
I started one game before that, though. My first ever game was at North Carolina when Winbush had an ankle. So I started that game, played it, and then saw some backup time. But yeah, ended up playing that Citrus Bowl with Miles against LSU.
Yeah, that's awesome. Speaking of the other teams and the playoffs, I'm not even going to bring up the Michigan game. I can bring up the Michigan game in 2018, the opening game of the season, where we schooled you guys at ND Stadium. Speaking of ND, I do want to get to this list because they just announced the top 12 teams of the college football playoff. Ian, there's something that we've talked about all season long that I want to ask you about, because we've asked other players, and I think we were in New York for the first game against Navy, and we went into the Giants locker room and interviewed Nate McLeod, who I believe was after your time. I think he played 2020. I don't know if you played when you were there, but he came from NC State, and he was still in the locker room with the Giants, and we wanted to ask the question, how hard is Notre Dame Stadium to play in for opposing teams? Was that, and surprisingly to me, people are like, it's a really hard stadium to play in. It's loud. It's, I've got this mystique to it. when you're like, you started there, I mean, right, 35 times, whatever it was, you started at Notre Dame Stadium. Would you hear from opposing players, hey, it's tough to play in this place? Is it, what was the vibe as a player playing at Notre Dame Stadium as opposed to like going to Georgia and playing there?
Yeah, I would say not necessarily. I don't think it's known to be difficult. It's known to have a certain there's definitely a certain vibe to it. Yeah. It's like
the cathedral.
The cathedral. That's their tagline this year.
There's a certain vibe to it. There's definitely everybody that I know on opposing teams have said like they really enjoy playing at Notre Dame. It's a fun environment. There's history, like you kind of feel that you're in the middle of nowhere, kind of. You see everything on campus. You see how, obviously, probably when they're coming in on their bus, they see how many fans there are. Everyone's got Notre Dame gear. Like they see the passion, I believe, but I don't think it's overly loud or hostile. I loved playing at home, but I also love playing away games. There was something about
playing away.
Yeah, something about being on the road and kind of having absolutely everybody there hating you was like more fun.
What was the worst stadium? What was the worst stadium to play in? Just like, I don't know, worst experience or Terrell fans. You could say Miami because I remember that game, but that was like 2017.
Yeah, playing at Miami was the most hostile environment I've ever been at. By far, top 3 loudest. The Dolphins can't even sell out Hard Rock, and there wasn't a seat in there. It was so loud. It was like a nightclub. It was ridiculous. It was out of control. There were so many famous people there too. It was crazy, and we didn't play great. I would say my top 3 loudest: Virginia Tech, Miami, and Georgia. Those were pretty off the chain. I think Georgia broke their stadium record. Our game was the first time they did that red light show. It was like 95,000 people. They're right there on the, right in the hedges. Fans are right there screaming at you. Playing at Northwestern at 11 a.m. kickoff at a high school stadium isn't that fun. Not the most fun, but there was it wasn't 11 a.m. We actually got a night game there, I believe. But there was something about Northwestern that I liked as well. It was weird because it was just Chicago, so it was like Notre Dame. We took it over. That's always fun. I think worst place to play by far is at Stanford. There's just quiet. You can hear everything, and nobody's there. And especially if you're winning by halftime, there's like maybe 1,000 people left for the game. So it's not fun. But I don't think Notre Dame is extremely loud. I think it can be, and I think the games, at least for me, that probably would have been the loudest were during COVID. So that was kind of a bummer. But the Clemson game probably would have been off the chain, especially in all those overtimes. And it was only half the stadium. So I guess I can't really say.
Yeah. Well, they've tried to DJ Cool in recent weeks. They've tried to up the ante at Notre Dame Stadium with the light show and stuff over the last couple of weeks. Aaron, you've got the top 12 for us that you can announce. Michigan, happy to say, is not part of that top 12.
No, they're not.
Absolutely. Are we going rankings or playoff?
Huh?
Rankings or playoff?
We're just talking about Michigan.
Probably bad things.
Playoffs. We're talking playoffs.
Oh, it's next year.
Playoffs.
So if Notre Dame wins, who do they play?
All right, current rundown. Yeah, current rundown. Here we go. So we got Notre Dame playing SMU right now. So
They're the 11th seed.
11th seed.
No, SMU is the 11th seed. Notre Dame
10th seed actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Penn State 6th seed playing number 11 Indiana.
Still in there.
You got Georgia. If I got my binoculars out, I would see this. Number 8 playing number 9 Tennessee. Ohio
That'll
State.
be awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'll be a great game. Ohio State 5 playing 12 Arizona State.
It's not a good game.
Okay. Yeah, right. Winner that goes on plays, assuming Boise State there for the quarterfinals.
So that's a bowl game.
That a bowl game?
No, neutral site.
So
Quarterfinals.
Ohio State could play Arizona State and Boise State.
Yeah, that's a pretty easy route.
Yeah, are you kidding me? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's almost like already made up.
Just give the ball to Scattaboo.
Yep. Georgia, Tennessee would go on to play Oregon.
Okay.
in the second round.
Winner of Indiana Penn would go on to Miami. I think Miami's tough. I think Miami could be Final 14.
Okay.
Yeah, that's for me. SMU Notre Dame winner would
I
go.
want
go
that
play
so bad.
Texas.
And then the winner goes on to play who?
Texas.
No, at the Cotton Bowl probably,
Yeah.
because the Cotton Bowl is one of the 4 bowl games. All right, so Ian, who is the hottest team in your opinion in college football? Like, who is your top 4?
Yeah, I think just from watching football over the last, just this season, I think Oregon looks pretty good. Just from what you were talking about earlier, I think, I don't know, top 4 is kind of hard, but in my personal opinion, I think Texas is up there. I think I don't know about Penn State. I haven't watched enough Penn State tape. Let's put it that way. So I can't be a fair judge, but
Yeah.
We still can't name a player from that
Yeah.
team.
Who's the quarterback?
No.
Yeah.
and then who am I missing? I think
Tennessee, Georgia, Notre Dame,
Ohio State.
Ohio State.
Miami.
Oh.
I think Ohio State.
Depends
I
wrong.
think they're. I don't know about Miami. Honestly, I'm a little iffy.
Yeah, I think the
Little iffy.
defense. We've talked about the Miami defense that they have
Who's Georgia? Would Georgia have to open up this?
Tennessee and then possibly at Oregon.
I think they've got the toughest path if that's how it finishes.
If they
If everything,
If they don't lose
Yeah.
again.
well, if they don't lose again, they win the SEC. They're in the SEC championship right now.
Georgia would have to go through.
I'll tell you
Oregon.
this.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this. I'm not mad that we get to play SMU though. That makes me. I like that. Out of everything we talked about, I haven't watched a single snap of SMU football, but I still like it.
Well, we just shut down the best running game in college football, which was Army.
Right.
No,
And
I know
SMU
what you're gonna say.
Is
They haven't
SMU
played
supposed to
anybody.
have some crazy running attack? Am I missing that?
I think Edwardsburg High School runs the same offense.
No.
They run the Niles runs the triple option too. Oh boy.
No,
They're in the state
run-
championship and they're about to.
Just runs it down your throat. I think it's going to be really interesting. I do think that, listen, there's no doubt that on the 3-panel discussion that we run every week that I am the Notre Dame homer of this group. That I say undefeated every season since 2016. But I think because of the SEC, the Big Ten beating each other up, I think because they have to go through their paces, I think this is a prime time for Notre Dame to run that group. I mean, when you look at college football now, Notre Dame's in a prime position because I think they have the clearest path to the semifinals. So whether you want to say those 4 teams are tough, there's going to be 4 teams that are tough at the end of the year, no doubt about it. But can Notre Dame be one of those 4 teams that has a chance to win a national championship? They said, I don't know who was it. Was it On3 or some outlet? I think it was The Athletic wrote an article about Brian Kelly and said that he is the farthest away he's been to a national championship since he started coaching right now, and that Notre Dame is the closest it's ever been to a national championship. Would you agree with that statement?
Is Coach Kelly the farthest he's ever been? Maybe. Maybe. What was he before? Grand Valley State?
Grand Valley.
Grand Cincinnati.
Yeah, Cincinnati.
Or Central
Yeah.
Michigan.
So-
Central.
I don't know. That's hard.
So
That's hard to
since
say. It's obviously not going great over there. But I think for the Notre Dame, I think Notre Dame can win a national championship. A lot of people have asked me, "Do you think they can?" I think they can. I do. I think you got to put pretty obvious. You got to put a series of games together. But the route that you're talking about just seems doable, and you got to play your best game, and you got to just keep doing what you're doing. But I think obviously you beat SMU, and I think you just said Texas. That's going to be really hard, but
that's a big
Texas is
challenge.
beatable. The weirdest thing about the college football this year, it seems like everybody is beatable, and I love that, and it gives me hope. And I'm a Notre Dame fan, and I'm all about it. So I'm feeling optimistic.
Ian's on the undefeated train with me. I love it. I love it.
It can happen. Let's just put it that way. It can happen. You know,
100%.
How it's going to happen is this defense continues to play like they play.
It's crazy without Benjamin Morris.
I mean, I'm
without,
just
you know,
their defense is playing championship level football, and they have been consistent all year.
Yeah.
If they let's say they play Texas and they cause 2 turnovers, you're in the game, 100%.
totally
Because
agree.
right now you can almost count on 2 turnovers a game from this defense.
I think we need to learn how to start fast too.
Yeah,
Like I know I say learn, but some teams are good at that, some teams are not. But slow starts in the playoffs never great. You know,
For sure.
you play off momentum, and in those big games, you punch Texas in the face and get up 2 touchdowns. Like it's the best feeling in the world. And just slow starts against good teams is super hard. You might be able to slow start against, you know, Navy or whoever, Virginia, but the moment these playoffs start, you do that, and you go 2 quarters of playing sloppy ball, it gets really difficult.
yeah. Look at IU, Ohio State.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean that went off the rails real quick. You know,
100%.
you make
but
it.
it started okay.
They had a good drive, but right then, what was it? They had
But then it was the end of the first half,
it was
the
the
beginning of the second half that killed them.
When they muffed
the muff punt.
everything just fell apart.
Do you guys happen to know the top 5 ranked defenses? Like, is NIU really one?
Yeah.
So, well,
They're not one, but they're
This was a couple weeks ago. I'll look it up again. But in total defense, they were
I'm curious
They
of
were
those.
5 at one point.
Okay, I'm curious out of those playoff teams. Like,
So
you know,
the
whose
number, like
defense
what
is
I
up
was
there?
paying real close attention to was top ranked defenses, and then I also think a separator is quarterback play.
Yep.
And maturity at the quarterback position too. So I mean, you look at Texas with Quinn Ewers. You know, Oregon's got solid quarterback play this year. Will Howard played pretty good this last game too. He made some great throws even in the rain. So you know, those contenders, I think, you know, all things considered, you're probably going to make a run in the playoffs with a solid defense or an above, you know, a top-ranked defense. But the separator then can be who's going to be that quarterback that's been in the moment, that knows how to avoid the noise and make some big plays in crunch time. So those have kind of been the 2 I looked at. But as far as, let's pull this up right now, total defense right now, Ohio State is ranked first. Texas, Indiana, Notre Dame's 4th, Penn State's 5th, Tennessee, Oregon, NIU is still 8th.
Wow.
Tulane, Army is actually the 10th ranked defense. I think a lot of that has to do with who they play, but then also how well they've run the football. So their defense probably not on the field a ton.
Tulane also has one of the top ranked offenses.
Yeah. So
at 43 points per game.
Then you have, so I'll just round out the top 15, Ohio, Minnesota, South Carolina, Miami, and Georgia.
Got it.
So you have some
so a lot of
the
most of them is.
Yeah.
One more thing from me. I meant to ask you this on the show, and I know there's a lot of comparisons. Notre Dame fans like to compare players and head coaches and history and all that.
5 worst quarterbacks of all time.
You're up there with some of the top 5. I don't know what you're talking about.
We found a TikTok video where I was ranked the worst quarterback of all time, or worst quarterback in the last 20 years.
Oh, come on. People don't know what they're talking about.
100%. You know, you played for BK, and you know, like, I mean, obviously you won a lot of games with BK. And what, in your opinion, I don't know if you've had many conversations with Marcus, if you've been around the team, you know, what do you
I already know what you're going to ask.
Yeah. And this is not any way to bash BK or what he did here, because I think he deserves every accolade he had while he was at Notre Dame. I mean, he was a hell of a coach. He turned it around in 2016. I mean,
what a statue up.
Changed the culture.
He did.
He did.
He absolutely changed the culture. So what do you think the main differences are between Brian Kelly and Marcus? You know, obviously Marcus, besides age, right?
Which plays, I think, plays a factor in this conversation.
You know, why do players gravitate towards Marcus?
Yeah, so I'll just start by saying it's the number one question I'm asked. No one cares about anything else. Everyone everybody that talks to me just says, "What's Coach Kelly like?" It's so funny. So
What was he
I've
like
got to
in the
think of-
locker room? Like, was he kind of loose? Was he?
people are just like, "What is he like? What's he really like?" You know, it's like this mystery coach. Like what? So, um, I'll just start by saying, my relationship with Coach Kelly was fine. Like he was really hard on me. There's, videos everywhere of him screaming at me. It was okay. I was okay with being coached that way. And we weren't buddy by any means, but he's given me my opportunity to play. He coached me and he kind of stayed in his own lane. When things were going good, he didn't bother me. When things were bad, a bad game, he would be in my ear, and I kind of understood, like, I didn't play great. It is what it is. I didn't have a problem with him because he gave me that opportunity. We kind of stayed in our own lanes, and it just was cool that way. That was our relationship. I always think of Coach Kelly as like a really good CEO in a different way. Like, he hired the right people that did a lot of the heavy lifting, and he set the culture, and he wasn't, he was the exact opposite of what you might see with like Dabo. Like, he wasn't gonna buddy call you. Like, he might get your first name wrong, but he
We do that all the time.
knows
We screw up first
he
names on
knows-
the show all the time.
he knows the process, and
Yeah.
he would just reiterate the process daily, and he wasn't gonna waver from that. And he expected, greatness and our best effort, and I had no problem with it. A lot of people didn't like that, and I can see why as well. So I'll tell you, I didn't have Marcus Freeman as a coach, but since I've been out, it's just a 360. So it depends what you like, because Marcus is, from what I've heard, an unbelievable recruiter. He's more buddy in a good way. He's a player's coach. He's played. He's younger. I think he's probably a pretty good motivator, but I haven't been in the room with him, so I don't really know. But it just, a lot of times I've noticed, like with fans, is if you hate something so much, when something's the exact opposite, you start to love it. It just depends which one you like. I didn't hate Coach Kelly. Let's just put it that way. And I think a lot of people want me to say that, but at the end of the day, like, he was my head coach, and I would get yelled at from him, but I would go to my player's coach or my position coach and get a lot of info from him, and he would also yell at me. So I understood how to, we had a relationship that was cordial, and, I actually appreciate Coach Kelly for giving me a chance to play, and he expected me to be like a certain player, and when I didn't hit that threshold, he was on my ass. So.
Well, I think that's. I'm not calling him an old school coach, right? But it's it's the mentality of, you run a ship, right?
That's how CEOs operate.
Yeah,
I mean, they do. They just
and you
CEO,
trust people.
Yeah.
You trust people to do their job,
high level expectations.
and I think a lot. I think Brian Kelly gets a bad rap for that, but that's just the type of coach he is.
Right.
And
That was my
And there's
exact
certain-
experience with Weiss.
was it same exact?
I mean,
experience.
I think one difference between Weiss and Kelly was able to play the political Notre Dame game differently
Yeah.
than Weiss did. But Ian's experience was very similar to mine. I mean, Weiss was in my ass like day one. I mean, and
Yeah.
there was not a lot of positive affirmation or reinforcement, even when you
Not
did
some
something.
hugs going around saying like,
No. Well,
Go get him.
it was also difficult with Weiss too, because he had food that would get lodged like right here on his lip. So it was really tough to focus sometimes, but a lot of
But
similarities.
I'll
that I
tell you,
think- Go ahead, Ian.
sorry. I think I'm a second or so delayed behind you, so I feel like I keep interrupting you.
you
But
got you got
if you needed something handled, like Coach Kelly handled it, like a CEO. Like, if something you needed him, like he would do whatever you kind of needed for him. Like, he was there for me a few instances through college. So, like, I just we kind of knew how to like deal with each other, and that's the way it went. And I just think Freeman might be the exact opposite, and people love that, and they were ready for a change. And maybe that's what it was. They were ready for a change, so they did that. And there's more than one way to be a good coach and win. So I think we're seeing that.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a great answer. I mean, I actually was going to say you were going to say that. I mean, like when you have certain success with somebody and the formula just works, like other people may not see behind the curtain to see like, oh, well, how does that work? Right. I mean, like you work with somebody for so long and the formula just works. You just get it. They get you and you just do your thing.
Right. So I've also seen on the outside how this social media train really can roll after I'm not a player. Boy, like I've just seen things get taken, if you have no relationship with the football team and you're just getting your news from social media, you might hate Coach Kelly because you just aren't seeing, anything good, So I understand how that works, but I think being inside the building, he did some good things. So he wins everywhere he goes.
Yeah, he does. Well, he has. We'll see how it goes next year. We'll see how it goes next year. Do you have a few more minutes or you got to hop off? What's your schedule? We don't want to keep you, but.
No, I got a few more minutes. Yeah, I got a few more minutes.
So we're going to ask you for your national champion because we have you on right now. So who's your college football national champion?
Yeah, I think it's the Irish.
Yeah. The guy makes two of them. Hey, smart man. Smart man. What do you have, by the way, out of the 12 teams?
Just the top 4 right now?
Yeah, I mean, whoever.
I mean, I think my top 4 have, I think, been pretty consistent all year. I think I've continued to have Oregon, Ohio State, Georgia, and Texas.
So who's your national champion? Still say Georgia?
From that 4, again, I mean, I think it's going to be, has Carson Beck turned a corner? Because I think, they played the toughest schedule. They've gone through the grinder. I mean, you look at the teams they've played, and if it lines up the way that we're seeing right now, it's going to be a tough path to get there.
Yeah.
So, if they're able to go through that fire and get to the national championship game, it's going to mean that Carson Beck has played well. So I'd say if Georgia's in the national championship game, I'm probably picking them. The outlier for me is Oregon. I don't know has really truly been tested yet. But they've played consistent all year. And also too, Ohio State taking care of business when I think a lot of people wrote them off. I know I did. I think they were going to beat IU, but I mean, they're going to won't they play Oregon in the Big Ten championship game though?
Yeah. Yep.
So we'll get an idea, I think, that week. That'll tell us a lot on what that looks like. But I think right now, if Georgia gets to the national championship game, that's going to be my pick.
All right.
I'm going Georgia.
Yeah. Wow.
I don't think so. I think Carson Beck.
There's something to be said about the big moment and being there many times, whether you won or lost, but just Georgia in the last few years, like it's just they're there they're just there all the time. They understand that big game. So there's something to be said about that. I understand where you're coming from.
But also
Carson Beck turns the corner, like it could get.
Go ahead. Sorry, I cut you off again.
No, you're good. I'm behind you. It's just, I was just saying that if Carson Beck turns, you got a great point. Like if he, starts playing well in the playoffs, they got a great roster. So.
Yeah. Well, we also talk about NFL football a little bit. We'll just touch on it a hair because I'm sick of talking about the Detroit.
Yeah, it's all in our group chat.
You want to come with us, Ian?
Hey, I like the Lions, man.
I'm kind of sad if the Detroit Lions go to the Super Bowl that I would buy tickets. So, boy, that's not looking like a great bet right now.
Vegas is freaking out. I saw an article about that. All this money coming in on Detroit right now.
So I know you played with the Philadelphia Eagles organization and the Chiefs organization. Both of those teams are having like great seasons right now. Obviously, the Chiefs, if you were odds-on favorite, they would get there again and do it again. But man alive, those Philadelphia Eagles, they're playing some good ball. Saquon has kind of revitalized his career.
I saw a crazy stat. The 3 running backs that the teams passed on, so Saquon, Henry, and Josh Jacobs, the teams that didn't re-sign those guys are like 7-27 since that, or maybe and the teams that got them are, I think they have 4 losses combined, something silly like that.
So what is it about that Chiefs organization? I mean, because it is top down organization. What makes it so special and so unique right now that they go out every week and they have a belief that they're going to beat any team that they step on the field with?
There's definitely a confidence and a swagger over there in Kansas City. When I was there for the few months I was there in the preseason, that starts with the head man there. Coach Reed is awesome. I enjoyed my time with him a lot.
Yeah.
Really smart. Definitely a player's coach. A lot of freedom there on that offense. I've never been a part of anything like that where there was plays that, I'm not kidding you, the Reed was drop back and have wide vision and just let the guys go. Like, I'm not...
That's going to be Saturday, playing turkey ball, baby.
There's the creativity there is awesome. They're willing to try anything. And they have, I think the vets on offense are special, just the way that they have a freedom to their offense. I've never been a part of anything that's so free flowing. It's kind of cool that it was like very opposite of like such a structured offense. There is structure there, but it's just different. It's kind of hard to explain. I would also say, Pat Mahomes, obviously, he's the freakiest, best quarterback I've ever seen, just with his arm talent, his delivery, and his decision-making. It's like a second before everybody else. It's pretty crazy. And then I would just say their situational football is amazing, and that matters big time. Like, obviously, in the Super Bowl last year, we all saw how that mattered. It's something that I would say a lot of teams talk about, but man, we would rep it, and just there wasn't a situation we didn't talk about, see a video about, see good examples, bad examples. Their situational football has won them games that have won them Super Bowls, but also just, week in and week out, they're outsmarting teams. It's pretty cool to see like how far ahead they are than some other teams when all the teams are in the NFL. Like, how is there that big of a difference? But their situational football is special. Like, the stuff that they're doing for that is next level.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for giving us that insight. It's really cool to hear from somebody who's been in both of those organizations to be like, hey, like, this is what makes them special and this is what makes them tick, because we can see it from the outside. Like, how are they able to win these last second games every single time? And,
it's like they love it. It's like the games, they're down by 3 with a minute 26. You're going to lose. I'm sorry. Like, that is what they love, and that's what they practice. And it's so comfortable for them to have 50-something seconds and be down by 3 and go down, or be down by whatever, and go down and kick a field goal and win. They don't care how they win. It's a win. Like, Coach, he'll just preach like, hey, it's a great win. Don't be mad. Let's keep going next week. Boom. Like, they don't, it's a week-by-week game, and a win is a win for them.
Awesome. Nice. You guys have anything else for Mr. Buck?
Yeah, I've got one last thing. When I was a young budding reporter at 24/7 Sports,
I'm excited for this.
I wrote Ian's signing day evaluation.
Shit.
Here's what I'll say. This was probably of all the, and I only did it for a few years. I probably wrote the most glowing report about you.
Let's go. I'll take it.
Connection too with a quarterback trainer out there on the West Coast, because I was kind of doing the same thing at that time with my facility, and so I had a little inside scoop on some of Ian's training, and I think his mental makeup too, which I was drawn to. Just his competitor kind of coming in under the radar a little bit, because there were some other guys around the same time a little more highly touted in terms of the ranking systems and how that worked. But I wrote, here's what I wrote, Ian. I wrote, Book is a competitive leader, a winner. He will arrive on campus at Notre Dame and push the upperclassmen immediately. Great mental makeup. He's an exceptionally gifted passer with impeccable finesse and touch. He displays comfortability both in the gun and under center, and on play action bootlegs and out of pocket throws. He's very efficient in regards to properly positioning his body to make accurate throws on the run to either side. Book flashes a smooth, quick release with great accuracy and puts his receivers in great positions to make plays. In the pocket, he displays active feet and has the ability to extend plays when needed. Consistently creates a solid lower half power position for his throws, which allows him to get the ball out with velocity and high levels of spin. Book has a tremendous upside as a passer and is only beginning to scratch the surface. Great athleticism in and out of the pocket, and Hawkeye vision and playmaking ability.
Hell yeah, my
I got
guy.
that one right.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Hey, I'll
I
appreciate that.
Brad teams playing team
I
for
thought
those
so
4
too.
years.
I mean, you see a lot of,
Most
you watch a lot
articles.
of film in high school guys, and there's whenever the consistent message is that they've got to make some type of tweak when they get to college, whether it's their throwing motion or there's something, I didn't see that for me, and it was smooth everywhere. Everything looked natural, and so I knew that if he was going to get an opportunity, and he was surrounded by some great players too, he was gonna raise his level, and then at the same time, those guys too were going to see the success. And I was pretty pumped when you got your opportunity, and I knew that it was going to be, once you got it, you're going to lock in, and it was going to be lights out. But a lot of guys at that time didn't maybe see that, but you watch a lot of film, there's thank you.
That's awesome. Hey, I appreciate it. Most articles were not great, probably, so I appreciate that. But that's good. That's a quarterback that knows a quarterback, man. So I appreciate it. That's how it should be. If you're going to write articles on other QBs, you should play the sport, don't you think?
Yeah,
For sure.
I agree with that. I do agree
I got
with that.
fired during the bye week leading up to USC. I think I don't think it was that year; it was the following year. But
There's plenty of keyboard warriors that have never played.
that was the part that I could not handle. Like when I was working for 24/7, part of like in the contract was I had to comment on the message board so many times. I could not take one more. We're going to fire Coach Kelly and bring in Urban Meyer. I'm like, yes, he was an assistant coach there 20 years ago. No, he's not leaving wherever he is right now to come and coach.
That's awesome.
That is
Great
great.
job. We got to print that one out, I think,
It's probably still on 24/7 Sports somewhere.
on a message
That's
board.
awesome.
No, it was an article. I was signing day evals, man.
Nice. Well, man, thank you so much. This was an awesome conversation. I know you took time out of your busy schedule to join us, and you've got a lot going on. So are you out in the West Coast permanently now?
Yeah, I'm here for now. I mean, hopefully not long, but this is where I'm at, waiting for an injury, a tryout, something good. So I'm kind of waiting for what's next. But yeah, watching every Sunday and working with my agent. But yeah, Sacramento for the time being.
Nice. Are you working out at a facility there and just working
I
on
actually work out. I work out and do therapy where I grew up working out and doing therapy, and I kind of have my core group of receivers, and
Nice.
they're still in town right now as well. So a couple of those guys, some guys in the Canadian League, a couple of guys out of college trying to play in Europe, and we got a nice little group. So we get out to the field. It's fun.
That's awesome. Next fall, when you're in town, I don't know, maybe like a friendly quarterback battle of some sort. I want to see the southpaw.
Southpaw.
Are you lefty?
I mean, I hit left.
Oh, you
in
hit
baseball.
left-handed in baseball, but you're not. Yeah. Well, it's been a minute.
I mean, and also, Saturday. That's people. Okay, if you're not busy and you want to fly in and bring those receivers, we got the annual flag football.
Here's at West.
Flag football game. My team's back.
I love it. Hey, make sure you warm up, okay?
Yeah. The first year, I pulled both of my hamstrings on. Well, the problem is it's full-time rush. It's not like 5-apple rush. It's literally they're chasing me the entire time. So pulled both my hamstrings my first run, but didn't want to tell anybody. So just played through it. Couldn't walk for 2 weeks. So last year was better.
It's fun.
It's awesome. Well,
Well,
thanks,
good.
man.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Joining us, and feel free to join us anytime. We loved having a conversation with you. So,
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
hey, thank you, Ian. Ian Book joining us here on the Varsity Brews podcast.